Hello everyone, this is the novelette Wolf's Hunter by Bernadette Tiavacci, and this is Chapter 3, Moonlit Encounter, Part 2. With a bellow of anger, Hunter's eyes flashed open, and he lashed out. A second too slow to make contact with his attacker, however. Hunter glared into a set of flashing green eyes as the female scampered backwards out of his reach, then stood and glared right back at him. "You!" Hunter growled, his icy eyes shining with malice. "Hey, it's me! I've had enough of this shit, mate! I'm tired of running from the likes of you!" she snapped back. He saw her hands clutch into fists at her side. "So you came to surrender, then?" he taunted, beginning to pace in a slow circle. "Or beg on your knees for me to spare your worthless life?" The female shifter mirrored his movements, and they circled each other slowly, facing one another. "In your dreams, you arrogant son of a bitch," she snarled, and an unhinged smile began to play across her lips. "But if you ask real nicely, I might not kick your overgrown ass all the way back off this mountain. The name's Wolf, by the way. See you remember it." Hunter felt a strange surge of something he hadn't felt in forever. Amusement. "You think you can win, little female. Truly. Plucky little thing." The sound of clothes tearing and bones breaking and reforming accompanied her sudden shift into her lupine form. Shaggy golden-brown fur rippled, and her canine lips drew back in a wicked snarl. Her eyes flashed golden fire in the moonlight. "Only one way to tell now, ain't there, boyo?" Hunter's answering grin was no less savage, for all that his face remained human. "Well, all right, little wolf, let's dance." With a feral snarl of rage, the female shifter launched herself at Hunter's much larger form, and they met in a glorious explosion of blood and violence. Hunter had to admit he understood now how the tiny female from the visions in Lord Caden's brain had torn apart a gladiator twice her size. That gladiator had been big, but human, and no human stood a chance of surviving against this little beast when it was angry. She was even giving him a decent enough workout. Of course, he was still in human form, and was fighting barehanded. No harm in having a bit of sport before he brought either his magic or his weapons to bear. Assuming his true form now would spoil the fight entirely, so he would refrain from that. Wolf snarled like something possessed as her wicked claws slashed Hunter's ribs, midsection, and back, clearly seeking to spill his guts. Meanwhile, Hunter's hands were kept busy deflecting Wolf's snapping jaws as they sought to rip out his throat. She was a fighter, all right. Had he been a mortal man, he'd have been in fear for his life. Good thing he was far from that. With a wicked grin, Hunter started fighting back, landing blow after blow that rocked his opponent's smaller body. But she didn't quit. Didn't even slow down. Hunter felt a grudging respect. Even when he landed a harder blow than he'd meant to, and he felt her ribs crack under his fist, nothing. If anything, the pain seemed to make her fight harder. Sadly, as fun as all this was, Hunter knew he needed to end the fight soon before the silly creature really harmed herself. He placed both hands on her chest and sent a measured bolt of green lightning through them. It was enough to knock her back against a giant oak, and in a blink Hunter was there, his body pinning hers to the rough bark, a wicked silver dagger at her throat. "Now then, little wolf, surrender or—" Hunter wasn't prepared for her to lunge against his blade. With a curse, he tried to jerk it back, but a thin line of red opened up across the shorter fur of the shifter's humanoid throat. A shrill bark of pain was followed by a desperate snarl as the shifter clamped her jaws across Hunter's forearm. "Damn it, that's enough!" Hunter bellowed, and he brought the hilt of the silver dagger down on the wolf-like skull. The female's body went limp, and her fangs tore from his flesh as she collapsed in a heap at his feet. Slowly, her unconscious form turned human once more. Hunter frowned down at himself. He was a bloody mess, and his clothes were shredded. He grabbed the bone hilt of Wolf's useless metal knife and yanked it out of his chest, then tossed it away. "Troublesome little creature, aren't you, Wolf?" He snorted a bit at the name. A little on the nose. Of course, so was Hunter, he supposed, at least in his case. Shrugging, he located his battered leather rucksack, which had dropped during the fight, and dug out his silver chains. They kept shifters from transforming, and therefore made managing them along the return trip far easier for the bounty hunter. As desperate to escape as this one had been, he wasn't taking chances. He eyed the oozing cut across her delicate, now human throat, and shook his head, one corner of his mouth tilting up a fraction. Quickly, he wound the chains around her body, securing her arms to her sides. This one would no doubt bear watching. Hunter's icy eyes gleamed just a little brighter. He did so love a challenge. And that is the end of Chapter 3.